Hello! Welcome back to Harry Has a Cocktail, episode 17. I have so much to cover, I hope I can make it short enough. I just got back from Provincetown, which is where Sean and I went on our honeymoon, and we also went there to celebrate our 3rd year anniversary. 3 years I've been a husband. I wanted to show you some things in celebration of our wedding anniversary. 3 years is the leather anniversary, which is the traditional, but the modern gift that you can give on your 3-year anniversary is glass. My husband actually gave me 2 different gifts. First, the glass one I'd like to show you are these glasses. There's a cool copper design on there, on that glass, that I just love. They are so foxy. The other thing he bought me for the leather portion of my gift are this whole set of bar tools that have a leather design, and we found these in an antique shop in Provincetown, and I love them. Aren't they so cool? They're so great. Bottle opener, bar spoon, and an ice pick, I guess. Ice pick, and a jigger. I love these. Thank you, Sean. I also thought that because it is so hot right now and major summer going on, that I would make the biggest summer cocktail of all, a margarita. I'm not a huge fan of margaritas when I go to a restaurant, especially if you're in a high volume restaurant. Margaritas tend to be made with margarita mix. Please don't make your margaritas with margarita mix. It's just a glass of sugar, basically. I refuse to make margaritas with margarita mix. That being said, there's certainly a lot of sweetener in margaritas, but there doesn't have to be. Today, I'm actually going to make 2 different kinds of margaritas. Now, there's so much to cover with margaritas. I'm using, once again, my 3-ingredient cocktail book. The margarita has become one of the most popular drinks in America, which, as it says here in this book, is quite a triumph for a cocktail made with tequila, which is a spirit that was all but unknown before Prohibition. In 1934, an American travel writer, Emma Lindsay Squire, described tequila in her book, Gringo, An American Woman in Mexico, as a distilled product that bites at your stomach like a mad dog and then kicks it like an evil-tempered mule. Quite possibly, like most simple cocktails, it probably came about naturally, not through some sudden stroke of genius by one individual. The main thing to keep in mind here is that the true margarita has curacao, and that there was once a category of drinks known as daisies, which began to appear in the late 1800s. By the rather vague and slippery definition of the genre, daisies are sours that contain a little something extra, sometimes seltzer, sometimes raspberry syrup, and sometimes curacao. The word margarita is Spanish for daisy. I'm going to make 2 different margaritas here, and the first is basically a classic margarita, which basically contains tequila, Cointreau, which is sort of a version of curacao. Curacao is an orange liqueur. When we talk about curacao, people generally think of blue curacao, but curacao is an orange liqueur that is made with the dried orange peels of oranges. And this is also what Cointreau is as well. So that's the first one I'm going to make, classic margarita. And then I'm also going to make something called a Tommy's margarita. Julio Bermejo, the owner of Tommy's Mexican restaurant in San Francisco, began making his margaritas without curacao in order to draw attention to the nuanced natural flavors to be found in the quality tequila he was pouring. Another thing to talk about with margaritas is whether or not to salt the rim of the glass. Robert Simonson, who wrote this book, suggests, well, why don't you just rim half the glass, and that way you're giving salt to people who like it, and you're giving a side of the glass to people who don't like it as well. So you get sort of the best of both worlds, which is what I'm going to do from now on. I think that's such a good idea. Okay, so first I'm going to go ahead and do a salt rim on these glasses that I'm going to use. And this is how I go about it. I've gotten a lot of really great tips from this guy named Derek Schomer from Common Man Cocktails. He's a professional bartender. I get a lot of great suggestions off of that website, so check him out. So here we got a lime. A lot of times what I do with citrus is I'll go ahead and roll it. So like when I first get the lime, I go ahead and roll it like this, and you can kind of feel the whole thing getting softer inside, and they say that that kind of releases the juices. Makes them a little bit more pliable when you finally cut into it. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this in half. And here I'm going to here's my big thing of kosher salt. Now, you can also buy margarita salt in one of these cute little sombrero hat things, which, you open it up and it has like salt right in the thing, which is fine. But here's the main suggestion I got from Derek Schomer on that website. You want to make sure that you salt the outside of the glass and not the inside and the outside, because once the liquid goes into the glass, that salt then goes into the drink, which is flavoring the drink, which might be fine at the beginning, but if too much salt goes in, by the time you get to the bottom of your margarita, you basically have got like a mouthful of salt. It's kind of gross. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my kosher salt and I'm just gonna go ahead here, isn't this a pretty plate? And I'm just gonna throw some salt on the plate, basically. And then take the lime and just kind of make the outside of the glass a little wet with the lime juice. And like I said, I'm just gonna do half. And then you just basically dip it into the salt around that edge that you've made. There you have it. You basically got salt around half the glass. I'm gonna go ahead and do this with this second glass as well, my old fashioned. Easy peasy. There you go. Now, the next thing I want to cover is making twists. My friend Trip Hansen, hi Trip, about a week or two ago, Sean and I posted a picture of us drinking a drink, and I made these twisty little twists. I tried to do it here on the program once, where I made twists, and I made it one way and they didn't quite work out. It was basically a big disaster. Here's another way to make them, and it is with one of these, which is called a channel knife. Now, what this also is this is a zester on the end here. You've got these holes, and when you run it along there, it pulls the skin off. But this part of it is called a channel knife. And you know, I didn't even know what this was until a couple of weeks ago. This is part of a bar tool to make twists. So what you do is you just basically take that channel knife, it's super easy to do, and you just run it along the fruit. And as you can see, you could basically make this as long as you want. There we go. And so you've got this. Now, I'm gonna take my bar spoon and I'm gonna wrap the twist around the bar spoon, okay? And so go ahead and squeeze it right over top of the drink. You can actually feel that the oils are coming out of it. And then after this is sat on here for a while, this basically comes off. And there you've got like a awesome little twist that you could basically use that to garnish your drink with. Trip, I hope that explained how to make a twist. Aren't they cool? Now, I'm actually gonna go ahead and make my drinks. This will be a classic margarita. Be sure to use 100% agave tequila. Exotico, 100% agave. Now, there are also different kinds of tequilas. This is a tequila blanco. Blanco is tequila that is sort of the most, I would say, punchy. It has a strong punch to it because it is aged in steel barrels rather than oak barrels. So basically steel vats, essentially. So the tequila is not picking up any of the wood flavoring from the barrel. Just pure distilled agave. It's going to use 1.5 ounces of tequila, 1 ounce of Cointreau, and it's going to use 3/4 ounce of lime juice. And we are going to make it in a shaker. And today I'm going to go ahead and use a pint glass and one of these metal cups on the top and show you how that's done as well. So here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and use my cool jigger over here. 1.5 ounces of tequila, 1 ounce of Cointreau, and 3/4 ounce of lime juice. Fill the shaker with ice. And then, you know, like I always say, what do I always say? Yeah, use a crap ton of ice. I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in. And kind of, you make a seal by kind of going like that. And then you shake it. Okay, I would say that was about, I don't know, 20 seconds. Usually that seal is pretty tight, so you kind of gotta. Usually I put it against the counter. Usually breaks it. I'm gonna strain it into a rocks glass that's filled with ice. And there you go. That's a classic margarita. Let's try it. So good. Simple, simple, and good. And look at that pretty glass. Oh my gosh, so amazing. So good. I need some chips. Now I'm gonna make the Tommy's Margarita. The most famous margarita variation of the 21st century. This is simply a margarita sans the curacao and with agave syrup instead of sugar. So, this is very simple. For this one, we're going to use reposado el espelon. I don't speak Spanish, I'm sorry. But what I did look up was that reposado is rested. I think it means rested tequila. It is usually aged anywhere from 6 months to a year in usually American oak barrels. The third kind of tequila is añejo, and that means aged, and that is usually more from 1 to 3 years. So it has even more time to mellow and take on the flavor of the oak barrels. So they say that reposado is a little bit smoother than its blanco cousin. So here we go with the reposado. 2 ounces of reposado tequila. 1, 2. 1 ounce of lime juice. And ½ an ounce of agave syrup. Here I got some agave syrup from my local grocery store. And as you can see, it's going in there pretty slowly because it's kind of like, well, it's syrup. It's like what you put on your pancakes. And we're gonna go ahead and pour it in. Smack it down. Did that take? And shake it. Okay. And I'm putting my Tommy's Margarita inside my cactus glass. Strain it over ice. And there we have the Tommy's Margarita. Let's taste the difference. Now I have 2 margaritas in my hand. Yeah. Wow, they're just, I don't really know how to differentiate. I would say that the Tommy's is sweeter and smoother, and the Classic Margarita is a little bit more tart and clean. Gotta say I prefer the Classic because I'm a classic guy. And I absolutely love the salt with it. So there you go. Perfect for summer. I showed you so much today. I showed you my special anniversary gifts. I showed you how to twist a lime with a lime twist with a channel knife, for God's sake. And I showed you how to rim the salt of a glass or rim the glass with salt. I showed you that. And I showed you how to make 2 fine drinks. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Harry Has a Cocktail. Enjoy your margaritas. I know I'll enjoy mine. I do have a friend coming over later who's going to drink one of these, so I'm not going to drink the both of these. Till next time, thank you so much, and margarita! Cheers.